Hello, and welcome to Sarah's Baked Goods. Today we're going to be making pączki. Pączki is a filled donut with whatever jam you want. Traditionally it's with either rose jam or plum jam, but today we're going to be using strawberry jam. And then you can either dust it with sugar, like icing sugar, or you can roll it in regular sugar right out of the oil. It's up to you what you want to do, but let's get into it. I have my milk, sugar, and salt right here, and we're going to add just a little bit of vanilla. We're going to let this scald on the side, so just put it on low heat and just get it to room temperature. What this will do is it will bring the sugar, the vanilla, the salt, all getting that flavor developed while you prepare everything else. Also, this is my 2 eggs and 1 yolk. Make sure that it's just a yolk and not 3 eggs, because too much egg whites will make it not as rich and flavorful. So I'm just going to put this off to the side and get working on our flour. Make sure to give it a little stir before you put it on. Now that we're here, just flour and yeast. Give that a little mix up. We're gonna scramble these eggs and melt the butter. We just need the butter to be melted, but not too hot, because we're gonna be putting the butter and the eggs in at the same time. And if this is too hot, you're gonna make some scrambled eggs inside your donuts. Make sure you have your oil set up, ready to go. And then over here, all you're doing is mixing this up, making sure all the sugar and salt is dissolved in, and then waiting till it just starts to boil. As soon as it starts to boil, it's been scalded, and that's when you know that the full flavor has been released. Once that happens, you'll mix it in with your flour and yeast, get that mixing. As it's semi-mixed in, we'll add in our eggs and our butter. It's now just starting to steam up and boil, so we're gonna turn off the heat and start mixing it with our flour. Make sure all the sugar's been melted in, and pour your milk in. Make sure you get all of it in, and we're gonna start mixing this up. Because you're using scalded milk, melted butter, and room temperature eggs, this will proof very quickly. So we're just gonna put this on low until it's semi-mixed and start mixing everything else in. Once you get to this stage, you can turn up the speed and mix for 6 to 8 minutes. This is what your dough will look like after 6 to 8 minutes. Cover it and let it double in size before punching down. I'm going to be covering it with a wet, warm cloth. Because you're using scalded milk and all that stuff, this should double in size within 20 to 30 minutes, so don't leave this for too long. So we'll come back then. So it's now doubled in size. Just gonna put a bit of flour on top and punch it down. Then we're gonna scrape it out. And let's weigh it. We're gonna portion it out into 6 equal pieces. So it's about 182 grams per piece. But if you don't have a scale and you just are going by eye, the easiest way to do it is cut it in half. Make each piece into an even thing and just cut thirds out of it. And that should averagely get your 6 pieces. But obviously we have a scale, so I'm going to measure them out. While you're not working on them, cover them with a damp towel, so just reuse that damp towel that you used to cover in the first place. And then on a non-floured station, do a claw motion and just drag it around. What that will do is it will start to form it into a ball, while keeping the bottom the ugly side. You can also curve it so that you make the bottom nicer. If your hands are sticking, just use a tiny bit of flour on your hands. You want this to stick to the table, but not your hands. So when you're done one, I'm going to put it onto our tray. Once you have your 6, push them down. Make sure your hands have a little bit of flour so they don't stick to you. Just push them down like this. And instead of waiting till they're double in size, we're only going to wait till they're 1.5 their size. So this is going to be quick, 15 to 20 minutes. And make sure that you have your oil ready and hot at 350 to 375. So we're gonna just cover them and come back when they've 1.5 times their size. Now that they've 1.5 times size, pick one up and put it in your oil. Should be able to do about 2 at a time. I've determined that on my oven that it's 4, but you need to figure that out on your own and use a thermometer to get this. You need 350, 375. Try to stick around 350. You can go slightly below, but the lower you go, the more this dough will just soak up oil and become gross. And if it's too high, you're gonna get a raw dough on the inside. So you gotta try and stick with 350. I'm just turning it up now because when you put your dough in, it's going to cool down a lot, and you wanna make sure that it stays right around 350. Once it gets golden brown on one side, flip it over, let it golden brown on that side, then put it on your paper towel. If you are rolling it in sugar, wait 30 seconds for all the oil to drain off of your donut, then roll it in the granulated sugar. But if you're going to just dust it with sugar, wait till it fully cools down, then dust it. If you put it on while it's even remotely hot, all the icing sugar will just melt into your dough and just make it sticky and not really do anything. So if you want that look, just wait till it fully cools down. That's the golden brown color you're looking for. Once you get that golden brown color, flip it over. It's very finicky if you don't have a deep fryer and you're just using a pot like I am. I do plan on having a commercial deep fryer in the bakery, but if you're just doing this at home and you don't even have one of those small ones, you can do this with just a pot of oil. And I wanted to show you that because a lot of people won't make all these nice tasty treats that you need a deep fryer for just because they don't have a deep fryer. And there's no excuse because you can clearly just do it right in here. Just keep an eye on it because you don't want to burn it. My first attempt at this, and I had the oil way too hot and I ended up burning this whole thing. So it's now golden brown on both sides. And we're just gonna put it on there and start the next ones. Put the butt upwards, just like so, and continue on. Now that everything's cooled down, we're just going to cut a pocket into each one and then pipe it with strawberry jam. So all you're going to do is make a hole with your knife and then go back and forth. So that you make a nice pocket on the inside and just a small hole like that. And now, find your hole and pipe your jam in. Here's how they are. I'm just gonna set them up to taste test so I can give you my feedback. Let's give this a nice taste test. Make sure you get some jam. Amazing. Just gonna cut this in half to make sure that it's fully cooked. It's actually slightly doughy on the inside. A bit raw. What I'm going to do to fix this is I'm going to adjust my recipe to make 10 of these donuts, but instead of making 10, I'm going to make 12. So that should reduce the size just enough to make sure that it's not too doughy in the middle. It's just the direct middle. Everywhere else around it is fully cooked. So if I reduce it just that tiny little bit, it's going to be perfect. And the taste of this, let's get a good piece that isn't too doughy. It's got that nice yeast taste, sweetness, and the powerful flavor of the jam. Complements very well. Again, the only issue being the doughiness, but that will be fixed with me adjusting my recipe to make these donuts a tiny bit smaller. And that way, when you make this recipe, you'll get 12 donuts instead of just 6 like I did. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I even have my own website. Thank you, and have a nice day.